Hello, Steve White, Steve White 89. Well, I'm a huge horror fan. I love watching horror movies. I've been marathoning a lot of franchises and sort of doing some reviews and talking about the films. And something that kept coming up that I remember, that at first I thought I was imagining this, but I realised later that actually it was real, was happening. There's a lot of films that are changed when they are remastered or restored, mostly when they're remastered, like for DVD and stuff like that. And I remember when I was watching a lot of horror movies when I was a kid on VHS and later on, and that I always loved the atmosphere and the colour of them, like particularly films like Halloween had a lot of blue, very cold tones, and it sort of added to the atmosphere. And as opposed to, say, like regular TV, which is just basic sort of flat sort of straight lighting and no real tones or atmosphere or color or anything, just pretty much straight, like lit, and like you would see it sort of in your day-to-day life. But a lot of the horror movies had a real sort of they tried to really create an atmosphere with the tone and the colors and all that. And I sort of was watching some films and I was feeling like something's missing, and I wasn't quite sure what it was. And I thought, well, a lot of the videos you saw, they were taken from old films that had been screened a bunch of times, and they were probably faded, and sometimes the blue comes out more, and I just sort of felt like, oh, these are better quality scans of the film, and this is just what they really looked like. And it really wasn't. You were just sort of imagining this atmosphere when it really was just bad quality. And then I sort of realised, no, actually, I realised with Halloween 4, this is the one I'm sure of this, because I had the original version of it, and then I had the Blu-ray, and the Blu-ray was remastered. And when you look at the Blu-ray, the start of the film where Michael, the nurses or whatever, the doctors are going to the institution to pick up Michael, it's got a real blue tint to it. And like when you go into the jail, it's all blue. And when I watched it later, I was like, where it doesn't feel the same. Like I felt like it was blue, and I actually compared them, and you actually see that there was a filter or color correcting that was done, or color timing that was done, that has been removed or corrected or not applied. Because I always thought when they made the films, when they were actually developing the films, they developed them in a way that they would turn out favouring certain colours. Like I thought it was done on the film, so I thought the film was like the cyan and all that was actually something that was brought out in the developing, and that it was just part of the film, and that's how it was scanned. I didn't realise a lot of these films, they changed the tone of the film, the colour, after it was actually shot. And unfortunately, when a lot of people are going back and scanning the original film, they're not doing this. They're not looking at the original film and looking to see, was there colour correction done, was there colour timing done. And you get these films that originally had these cold sort of blue tones and dark sort of lighting and a lot of atmosphere, now are just flat, plain, straight film, because that's how they filmed them on the day with the lighting, and they thought they'd fix it later in producing it. So I'm not imagining things, and I'm wondering how many films are affected by this. Like I know for sure Halloween 4 is, because I actually compared the Blu-ray to the original DVD which I had, and unfortunately the newer DVDs from the same scan that they did for the Blu-ray, so you have to go back to find older copies to actually get the ones where it's actually blue. And there's one on YouTube, and you actually look at it, it's actually blue. But yeah, so don't throw out your old videos sometimes and your old DVDs sometimes, because sometimes you're going to lose something that is on them. But and films like Hell Night, Rosemary's Killer, a lot of these old horror movies that I watched on video that were taken from the original films that were put on in the theaters, are now different. They're different from the ones that are actually on DVD, because they've all been scanned from the original films, and they haven't gone through and done that color grading, that color sort of work. And it doesn't affect regular films so much, but I feel like it affects horror movies, and it can be quite drastic, the difference. And sometimes even just the difference between films, like when you watch the original Ring and then the sequel, the Ring is just all blues and greens and cold, and the second one is just shot like a standard film. And I'm not saying they messed it up in the remaster or anything. I think it was just meant to be done that way. But the difference, the feeling between Ring 1 and 2 is so different. And watching these films that originally grabbed me with the atmosphere, and now watching them in their sort of, remastered state, they lose something, and unfortunately a lot of people don't notice this and can't tell the difference. So it's something I think that's been lost, and they really need to pay attention to this. Same thing with Buffy. When they remastered Buffy, some of the film they didn't correct it, and there's scenes that are supposed to be at night that were shot during the day, and now they're in the film during the day, and like angels in daylight when it's supposed to be moonlight, stuff like that. It's really unforgivable when it's a story point, but otherwise it is a production thing that they're just not catching this stuff, and it's really not good, and they need to do a lot better job. But I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. I think this makes a difference and it's important, but it costs money to fix, so who knows if it'll ever get sort of fixed.